The governor and I have been talking about this decision for a while, of course, with our families. Governor with Lauren and his children, and I with Steve and our 2 children. When I started serving with the Gov, Bobby was a 5th grader and Judy a 3rd grader. He's now a senior and she is a sophomore in high school. And these are a difficult decision for all of us, in part because these are great jobs. It's an honor to be in this building and serving the people of this Commonwealth, and that makes it difficult to decide what to do next. Having thought about this a lot, we thought about the year and a half that we've lived through, thinking about the year ahead, and very much desire to focus our time and our energy on the communities and the people and the economic recovery that this state needs and deserves. Rather than campaigning and all of the difficulty that comes with a task like that, having done this several times ourselves, it's very important for the people of this Commonwealth to get our full attention, our energy, and our team's attention. And for me personally, it has been a team effort all along, coming into office with the governor, serving as a team, and certainly wanting to finish strong as a team and give our communities and the people the ability to plug into the jobs they so desire by focusing on education, keeping our kids in school, and making sure that our communities and our small businesses and our economy fully recover from the ravages of the pandemic. It's a great experience working with the Gov, and he's very hands-on, as you know, and very focused on the details. And the details of the next year really matter for the future success of our Commonwealth, and it will be my pleasure to finish our term together. With that, I'd now like to turn it over to Governor Baker.
So, the Lieutenant Governor pretty much said it all. All I would add is that it was, in fact, a very complicated and difficult decision for a number of reasons. We both love the work, we love the people, and we love the experience that comes with this. And the opportunity to help communities and to help people build bigger and stronger possibilities and opportunity is a big part of why we got into this in the first place. But that pandemic, which is now 22 months along, has been an enormous challenge for the Commonwealth and for the people of Massachusetts. And I've said many times, and so has the Lieutenant Governor, that the people of this state brought their A game to this pandemic every single day and did remarkable things to help us work our way through it. But there is a ton of work that's left to be done as we come out of this pandemic to rebuild, recreate, reimagine many of the things that were busted during the course of all this. And we believe it's most important that we spend the next year focusing on that and not focusing on, let's call it the discourse, and that's probably an insult to the word discourse, that comes with political campaigning. And with that, we're open to questions.
Governor, can you share just kind of how difficult this decision was? I know you said it was very complicated, but you seemed torn for a while there. Can you explain what were the factors that really just kind of put you over there?
Well, as both of us have said, I mean, the thing we like about this job is doing the work. And we both like it a lot. But the flip side of that, especially when you're still in the midst of, I hope, what will be the sort of tail end of this pandemic, is focusing on campaigning and focusing on politics and focusing on all the things that come with that, while certainly appropriate and necessary for anybody who chooses to run in 2022, just seemed to us like a big step away from what we should be focused on, which is continuing, as the Lieutenant Governor said, to make sure our kids can stay in school, to make sure our economy gets better, and to deal with all the very significant issues our communities are going to face going forward. Now, the legislature seems to be on the precipice of giving us a big toolbox to help us do some of this work. And that package, while admittedly we haven't seen it, we assume it's some combination of what came out of the House and the Senate, combined with a lot of the stuff that we'll probably file in our budget and in some of our legislative proposals in January, will give us the opportunity to do some really good work over the course of the next year, and that's really where we want to focus, period.
Are you ruling out
Governor,
a
now
run
that
for
it's up-
national
now that
office?
it's up
Governor, are
there.
you ruling out a run for president?
Yeah.
Governor, now that it's out there, how are you feeling as it's out there now? You see us here. It's now-
So nice to see so many of you.
But now it's real. How are you feeling? I mean, this is a big decision.
Yeah, it was a really big decision, which is why it took us a really long time to get here. I mean, we've talked a lot about this over the past day or so. I actually feel, particularly because the legislature seems to be getting to the goal line with this ARPA legislation, I feel really positive about what that, combined with some of the other stuff we want to work on, will make possible for people here in Massachusetts. And I honestly would rather focus on that at this point in time, given the challenges we face, than on anything else.
Governor,
State
your career goes all the way
Chairman of your own
back to
party,
Bill
Jim
Wells.
Lyons,
You
says
go
that
back
you were
to,
shaken by President
I'm listening to Jonathan. I will, sorry. Oh,
The
yeah.
eyes are on the same
Right.
angle. But you go all the way back to Bill Wells. I mean, you worked with Mitt Romney. It's been a long road here. I don't know if your career in politics is over forever. But what would you say your legacy is, and how would you say they would see you now, all these people you've worked with, the big names?
All right, I guess what I would say is that that's a good thing for us to talk about in January of 2023, because we're still working on, someone would say, give me a grade. Basically, it'd be incomplete, right? Because we still have a year's worth of work to do here. And we're very excited about it, and believe there's a lot of really good work that can and will be done over the course of the past year.
If I could follow
The
up,
next year.
What was the pandemic? We asked you about the pandemic. And you said COVID is brutal. It's just been awful to deal with. Do you think that was a linchpin here, that you've just been through a lot here in the last 20 months and you're ready to leave it?
Why? Do you really feel like we're about to stop?
No, we are not. We are very excited to keep moving
So
forward.
I think quite the opposite. I think what we want to focus on is the opportunities presented by the ARPA legislation and the work that needs to be done, and the relationships that we've built over the past 7 years to get a lot of things done that are going to be really important from an economic development, an education, and a community building point of view over the next 13 months. That's really where we want to focus.
Governor,
Governor,
Gus
the state
Bickford
chair of
and
your own party
Chairman
says
Jim
that-
Lyons both.
The state chair of your own party, Jim Lyons, says that you were shaken by President Trump's endorsement of Jeff Deal. True?
I've never entered a political race with the fundamental question being about whether I could win or I could lose. Every race I've ever entered, I entered because I believed I would be the best person to do the job and had the best plan on how to get it done. No, not
But
shaken.
did that factor in the
No,
parties
not at all.
taking you in such
Nope,
different directions,
not at all.
battling with him?
Which part of no? No, not at all. And I'm really looking forward to focusing on the work.
Really quick, in the past week or two, were you ever going to run?
We've said, both of us, that this was a difficult decision. You can assume from the fact that it was a difficult decision that part of what made it difficult was trying to decide which of these made the most sense. So in the end, we decided that we thought the best thing to do was to focus on a post-pandemic recovery for Massachusetts.
Governor, I hear you saying that you're not shaken by the president's endorsement of another Republican or the rightward shift of the Republican Party in Massachusetts, but both your statement from you and the Lieutenant Governor, when you said here today, you talked a lot about, I think you said discourse would be an insult to the word. how much of the tenor of politics today weighed on your decision to not want to get into that arena again for a fourth time?
I mean, I actually think our brand of politics and our approach to politics and both the way we operate and how we work with people and how we choose to focus on issues over personalities and motive stand apart from a lot of the bipartisan noise that's created in politics generally these days and amplified by social media platforms and all sorts of other people who are jockeying for attention. The fact that it exists, and I've said this before and so has the Lieutenant Governor, I believe is to the detriment of what we seek to achieve here. And I would argue that the way we've operated has a lot to do with why the voters in Massachusetts think we've done a really good job for 7 years. So that isn't why we wouldn't have gotten into it at all.
Governor, how big a toll does the job of being chief executive of Massachusetts have on that chief executive's family? How much did that play into the conference?
So I'm actually going to let you talk about this one first because this is a universal issue, I think, for a lot of people who serve in executive roles in government.
Public service is extremely rewarding. You know, we've had the opportunity to serve in local government. I've had the opportunity to serve in the legislature and then in the executive branch now 7+ years. And it takes, to do the jobs right, all of them, whether it's local, legislative, or executive, require 100% commitment and a relentless focus on the details and to be available literally 24/7. And I think a lot of you who've covered our work over the past 7 years know that in a moment, things can change from really good to really terrible. And in these last 7 years, I just told you, my children were in elementary school when I started with the governor. We've had snowstorms, we've had gas explosions, and we've had a pandemic that has lasted long over what any one of us expected. And all of those as examples.
The forest fires
The
and the
forest fire-
floods and the ice storms and the tornadoes and the hurricanes.
And the stuff that you just manage every day. And in all of those examples, there's time at night when you'd be trying to help your kids get to bed, time on the weekends when you're trying to watch one of their games, time to be with family, and you just can't because you're on a conference call trying to work out a solution and working with the team. And I think coming through this process, and it's been a very difficult one, as I've said, to come to this decision, had some real heart-to-hearts with my family about how do you feel about doing this again? And the feeling is we really like to spend more time with Mom. We've got some really neat things going on in our lives in these upcoming years, and let's take the time to balance that out. And I think any public servant would tell you that no matter what position you're in, there are sacrifices that come with these jobs.
Was that a factor in your decision not to go for a
Well, as I said to you, my whole idea of running with the governor was to come in to office with the governor, to serve as a team with the governor, and to finish with the governor.
Can I just follow up on the Lieutenant Governor's comments here, Steve? We had a sort of an appreciation gathering in our backyard. It was in the fall, right? For the cabinet and spouses and current and previous members of the cabinet. And I can't remember who said it, but somebody in one of their remarks, it might have been Lauren, said the biggest challenge with being married to somebody in one of these jobs is presence. And I think
presence.
no, present, like being there.
present, right.
She and I think she said it about me, but the point noted. But the point she was making was, you know, there's a lot of time when I might be in the house, but I'm just not there because I'm thinking about or processing or trying to find an answer to some other thing. And I think honestly, I don't think it's that much different than how some of your jobs are sometimes. And I think for all of us, especially as we think about the next year, to the extent I'm going to be present, I want to be present thinking about how we're going to make sure kids get the in-person education that they need, how we make sure we continue to help our communities find their way back from this pandemic, and how we're going to make it possible for the many people in Massachusetts whose jobs disappeared with the pandemic and have never really come back, find the credentials and skills they need to be successful going forward. I don't want it to be spent thinking about a whole bunch of other things.
Are you sad about this, or are you going to miss the job?
I will certainly miss the job. Yeah. When I left Harvard Pilgrim back in 2009, if you said to me, are you going to miss the job? Yeah. What do you miss most about the job? The people that you work with when you leave the job. But that's been, honestly, that's been true of every job I've ever had, going all the way back to being a paper route. You always, you develop bonds with the people that you work with, and when you don't see those people, no matter what you do next, you miss them, and by virtue of that, you certainly miss the job. Yeah, Kristen.
Turning point for you where, it sounds like you thought about this for a long time. Was there ever a moment or anything that happened, an event, a turn of events, where you said, this is the right decision?
No, I think it was more of a process of evolution. Sometimes these things just work themselves out, but you have to give them enough time to get there, and that's how I would describe this.
Can you be effective without running? We obviously have an end date now. Can you be as effective in this next year as you have been in the last couple of years?
I think so. We've heard, both of us have heard today from a huge number of our colleagues in state government and in municipal government, Democrats and Republicans, who all basically said, first of all, how much they appreciated working with us, and secondly, how much they, sort of promised that they would continue to work hard with us throughout the rest of our term. We're on pretty good terms with the vast majority of the people we work with every day, and we know that, and I think they do too.
Governor,
I want to give Bruce a shot here.
Governor, you talked a lot recently about your brand, Republican brand, that you appreciated. You built a brand, sort of a centrist type of management. With you stepping back after a year, are you worried that you become go to the extremes on the right and the left in this election, and your brand could disappear?
I look at it a little more optimistically, I guess. The way I look at it is, people say all the time that, we're sort of a center-right administration, moderate, whatever term you like best. But if you look at where we land with respect to the people of Massachusetts, the vast majority of them are in basically the same place we are. And I think, one way or another, the people of Massachusetts, will have a lot to say about the kind of political discourse and the kind of political behavior that they will choose to support here in the Commonwealth. And that will drive, almost by definition, the people who are playing in that environment to respect and respond to that.
Governor, will you be supporting Jeff Deal for governor?
I do want to give...
Have you been thinking from Marty Walsh today this documentary running for governor?
The Lieutenant Governor and I called a lot of people today, and I did speak with Secretary Walsh, and it was basically just a conversation to give him a heads up if he hadn't heard about it. Most of our conversation was what I would describe as a little bit of a, it was a series of humorous anecdotes about moments that we'd worked together on than anything else. But no, there was no comment or conversation about any of that.
Governor, will you be supporting Jeff Deal as campaign as a Republican, or would you encourage other Republicans to take a look at the race now that you're out of it, or Democrats for that matter?
Well, like I said, the focus for us is going to be on the work, and that is one of the main reason we're choosing to make the decision we made, is because we want to focus on the work, and that's what we're going to focus on going
Governor,
forward.
there are no term limits in Massachusetts, and yet there's been kind of a unwritten rule maybe that people don't run for a third term. Did that play any role at all in this decision?
No, I mean, we talked pretty seriously about this. I mean, we gave it a lot of attention, and the fact that it seems for the most part to be one or two wasn't really. I mean, the pandemic creates a whole new dynamic, at least I think in this particular context, for making that decision. And from our point of view, the way the pandemic, I had a bunch of people say to me, well, the reason you should run for a third term is because pandemic. I actually think just the opposite, which is why we're here today with the decision that we've made. We believe the pandemic means we really ought to just focus on the work and get it done. There should be an urgency associated with what needs to happen here in Massachusetts on the do side.
What are your plans after you leave office? What's on your list?
I'll tell you what, you can ask both of us that in January of '23, because, no, and look, we really are excited about the ARPA bill and some of the other initiatives that we've got planned, and we really want to see those through. And there'll be plenty of time to talk about whatever, whenever, when it comes to stuff like that. Or the select board in Shrewsbury.
Governor, one of the more remarkable aspects of your tenure was topping the most popular governor in the country lists for the better part of your tenure. Why was that, and what advice do you have for someone to, in the future, hold that position?
Have a really great lieutenant governor who makes you look good, and a whole bunch of really terrific cabinet secretaries. Shouldn't have done it. A whole bunch of really terrific cabinet secretaries and staff.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, folks, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Governor.
I hope you see all you do when we're talking about environmental infrastructure.